The world is changing in ways no one can predict. The streets of Los Angeles, once filled with the pulse of urban life, now echo with the sounds of protest, of cries for justice, of defiance. The streets, the parks, and the very sidewalks that had once been a place of respite now feel like a battlefield. A battlefield not of guns, but of ideas, of power, of control. It is 2025, and the United States teeters on the edge of chaos. Under the leadership of President Donald Trump, the nation grows increasingly divided. His policies are draconian, his rhetoric more divisive than ever. Immigrants, the poor, and people of color are caught in the crossfire of a system that seems to crack under the weight of its own corruption. But in the face of this oppression, a movement begins to rise. A movement that rejects all forms of undemocratic power. A movement that will soon be known as the No Kings movement. The movement starts in the hearts of ordinary people who have finally had enough. They aren't activists or politicians. They are mothers, fathers, teachers, students, people who have watched their country slip into the hands of a few powerful figures who rule like kings, who control the narrative, the media, the law, and the very air people breathe. But no one is prepared for what will happen next. Lina Martinez is one of those ordinary people. A young lawyer, sharp, passionate, and unyielding in her desire for justice, Lina has grown up in Los Angeles, in the heart of its immigrant community. She has seen firsthand the damage done by the Trump administration's policies. Families torn apart by deportations, children separated from their parents, entire neighborhoods under constant surveillance. But what truly sparks her rage is the day she watches a close friend, a young mother named Carmen, being dragged from her home in handcuffs. Carmen, who has been in the United States for over a decade, is deported without warning. That day, Lina knows that something has to change. At first, Lina fights in the courts, filing petitions and seeking legal remedies for those wronged by the system. But the more she sees, the more she realizes that the courts are not enough. The legal system is rigged. The government is too powerful, too entrenched. It is time for something bigger. The first protests are small. A few dozen people, holding signs, chanting slogans. But as the weeks go by, the numbers grow. The protesters come from all walks of life: immigrants, students, teachers, workers, people who have been hurt by the system and who are now standing up, refusing to be silenced. The No Kings movement is born. The name itself is a rejection of the way the nation has come to be governed. The protests aren't just against Trump's policies, but against the entire structure of power that allows him to rule as he does. The movement is calling for an end to the system of authoritarian control, a return to democracy, to the idea that power should belong to the people, not to the rich, the elite, or the corporate overlords. Lina stands at the forefront of this movement, a beacon of hope for those who feel powerless. But she knows that the path ahead will not be easy. There will be resistance, pushback, violence. The government won't give up its power without a fight. It doesn't take long for the government to respond. As the protests gain momentum, President Trump makes his position clear. This is an act of treason. The people who are trying to tear this country apart will be dealt with swiftly. His words are harsh, cruel even, and they only fuel the flames of resistance. The first major clash comes when National Guard troops are deployed to Los Angeles to quash the growing protests. Armed soldiers fill the streets, their tanks rolling through neighborhoods that have once been peaceful. It is a surreal scene, an American city, brimming with citizens fighting for their rights, now under military occupation. Lina is at the front of the crowd that day, holding a sign that reads, "We the people reject tyranny." She is angry, yes, but she is also resolute. She knows that this moment will define everything. She has spent years fighting for the people in the courtroom, but now, she is fighting for them on the streets. The sound of tear gas canisters exploding in the distance is deafening. The stench of it fills the air, making it hard to breathe, but no one backs down. In the chaos, Lina finds herself face to face with a group of National Guard soldiers. They are young, scared, just like her. She can see the hesitation in their eyes, the conflict. But they are there, following orders, ready to do whatever it takes to suppress the people. Lena's heart pounds in her chest as she locks eyes with one of the soldiers. He is no older than 20, a boy really, his hands shaking as he grips his rifle. "Why are you doing this?" Lena shouts over the noise. "We are your people. We are the ones you're supposed to protect." For a moment, the soldier doesn't answer. His eyes flicker with uncertainty. But before he can respond, his commanding officer shouts an order, and he moves on, the hesitation vanishing. It is a moment that haunts Lena for weeks to come. Marcus Williams, a former U.S. Army soldier, stands in the crowd that day. He has fought in several overseas conflicts, but this is different. He has seen the horrors of war, the atrocities committed by both sides, but never has he felt the weight of injustice so heavily. Marcus has grown disillusioned with the military after years of serving under commanders who have no interest in the lives of the people they are sent to fight for. Now, standing in the streets of Los Angeles, Marcus is faced with the reality of his past. The boy with the rifle, the soldiers in full combat gear, they are just like him, young men and women sent to do their duty, but with little understanding of what they are truly fighting for. He has come to the protests not as a soldier, but as an ally, a man who has found his redemption in fighting for the people rather than the powers that be. When he sees Lena, standing firm in the face of the soldiers, he knows that this movement isn't just about politics or policy. It is about something far greater. It is about standing up for what is right, even when the world around you tells you to be quiet. The protests continue to grow. Every city, every town, seems to have its own rally, its own march, its own moment of defiance. The No Kings movement isn't just a protest against Trump, it is a movement against the system that has allowed people like him to rise to power. But as the movement gains steam, the government retaliates with more force. It isn't long before the federal government declares martial law. Curfews are enforced. People are arrested. Protesters are shot with rubber bullets. The streets of Los Angeles become a war zone, a place where the voices of the people clash with the might of the military. But amid the chaos, a spark of hope emerges. The movement isn't just surviving, it is thriving. As the world watches, the people of Los Angeles stand their ground. The media, once silent in the face of government control, begins to cover the movement's efforts, showing the world the injustice being done to its citizens. Lena's voice is louder than ever. She has become a symbol of the movement, a beacon of resistance. She speaks at rallies, at protests, in front of cameras. She talks about the dream of democracy, the idea that all people should be treated equally, that no one should be ruled by kings, whether in government or in corporations. In the end, the movement's victory is not one of violence or force. It is one of perseverance, of unity, of standing firm even when it seems like everything is falling apart. The government, under immense pressure, is forced to back down. President Trump, facing global condemnation and internal unrest, agrees to meet with the leaders of the No Kings movement. The meeting is tense, but it marks a turning point. Lena and Marcus are there, standing together, looking at the man who once held absolute power. And as they look around at the people who have risen up against him, they know that this is just the beginning. The No Kings movement has succeeded not through force, but through unity, through the unwavering belief that the power of the people will always outweigh the power of the few. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the people have spoken. And no one, no matter how powerful, can ever silence them again.